You've tuned in to the Crispy Noodle Podcast.
You realize what you've done?
With Rich Liebig.
The real gangster plays his cards, right?
And Michael Costanzo.
What was that you just read?
Let us be the Crispy Noodle in your vegetarian salad of life and boring news.
Good times, noodle salad.
The point is, you now have the ability to be happy.
And now, here's Rich and Mike on the Crispy Noodle Podcast.
Woo! Yeah, here we are! We did it! The Eagles!
Go Eagles!
The Eagles did it! They are the Super Bowl champions, and I mean, how else could we, there's no way we're going to get around this. This is this week's topic.
Yeah.
Simple as that. No ifs, ands, or buts. We are devoting the whole episode tonight to the Eagles' Super Bowl win. They are the champions of Super Bowl 59. Man, glorious. That's all I can say. Absolutely glorious. But we will dive into more of that in just a little bit. We are doing this episode live. So if you're on Facebook and you happen to see us right now, make sure you leave a comment right now and we will react. But oh man, everything about this was glorious. I mean, where do you want to, Mikey, where do you want to start? I mean, we're flying high on cloud 9 right now.
I've been just ecstatic the entire week.
Yes.
It's one of those things where it just lifts your mood, lifts your spirits for just the whole time. You know, I've just been flying high. I mean, I think we both thought that there was a really good chance that we could win it. We could not have been further from the actual events that transpired.
I was close. I said it would be a defensive matchup. I just said I didn't say which side of the matchup it would be.
Usually when you say defensive matchup, you mean both sides kind of equally defensively minded, but that is not what happened. Let's not bury the lead here. The Eagles won Super Bowl 59, 40-22.
What, this guy think he's an Indian?
Like fresh eyes?
Yes! This is the most appropriate use of the wind music in quite some time.
Absolutely.
Glorious.
Oh, man.
So, all right, yeah.
How do you want to start? Do you just want to start, just go through the game, quarter by quarter, thoughts, emotions, just a recap of everything that happened?
Yes, because I remember vividly the first drive of this game where it seemed like, oh no, we're going to get screwed because there was an offensive pass interference call on A.J. Brown.
A non-existent call.
Yeah.
It was a BS call.
Just that. That's all it was.
I was like, do I have something on me? No, that's
it.
what it was.
Yeah. And
it was hand fighting. It was typical wide receiver DB hand fighting, like you see all the time, running down the sideline. Complete phantom call. Even the commentators were like, no, that's BS.
That's when you know it's bad, when Tom Brady's defending us.
Right? So it starts off a little shaky. Right?
Yes. But then Chiefs also went 3 and out on the other side.
Yeah.
And coming off of that, then I think the wheels start to turn for the Eagles, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was that second drive where things started just moving and grooving. Drove the ball down the field. You had that really beautiful pass to Jahan Dotson.
Jahan Dotson.
Out of
Remember
nowhere.
him? Remember him?
Former first-round cast off from the Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
He was their number 2 or 3.
Remember him?
Yeah. And just a beautiful down the sideline grab. And I mean, we all thought it was a touchdown. I'm sorry for the kid that he didn't get in the end zone.
Yeah,
but that
but
kicked things
that
off
is-
with
that is the MO with the Eagles. It's always on the 1 yard line.
always.
It's never in there.
Right. But that did set up for the iconic brotherly shove.
Yeah.
With Jalen Hurts getting in there, getting
No
the first
referee threatening a score this time.
No, it was a clean, simple, just busted our way in there.
I wish there was, though. I want that to happen now.
Now that you know it's possible.
Now that I know that the referees are willing to just award a touchdown.
Does that add another wrinkle to the play now? Where teams know that if they keep trying to jump it and jump off sides too many times, that the refs will just give us what we want, whether it's a first down, a score, whatever. Like, is that another mental wrinkle to the play that makes it even harder to defend?
Yeah, it could be.
We'll see.
Or is it going to give it another reason for these naysayers to try and ban it?
I mean, maybe the competition committee is like, well, we can't just have the Eagles forcing the refs to give them scores.
Why not?
I
think that's great.
I see no problem with that. I'm a little biased.
Yeah.
But
Sorry.
Anyway,
Just a little bit.
we digress.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
But then the Chiefs get the ball back, and still nothing.
This defense.
Nothing really going on there.
This really was the testament to the defense starting out. I mean, they just got to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, when you send 4 guys and the other 7 can just stay back in coverage, that's tough to beat no matter, what team you are. And Mahomes was definitely feeling the pressure of that throughout this whole game. And Vic Fangio, man, he came through in this one with the scheming on this, and that front 4 just won that battle on the line of scrimmage.
There was, I mean, the sequence that really was just absolutely breathtaking was the sack pick sequence. I mean, I've never seen anything so utterly dominant and impressive. I mean, I shouted after the first sack. I was like, "Give me another!"
Yeah,
and then
you willed it.
I willed it into existence, and then I was like, "Keep going!" I got. You gave me one. Give me another, and then immediately after that, Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
Interception return for a touchdown in the Super Bowl on his birthday.
That's a storybook ending.
You can't write that. If I were to submit that as a short story somewhere, they would have been like, "Shut up! That's
you
fake.
delusional Philadelphia
that's
fan."
Fairy tale Disney BS. Like, no, that actually happened.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also Patrick Mahomes' first pick 6 in the playoffs. I don't think he's ever thrown one.
Well.
There's first time for everything. Here you go, Patrick.
I'm glad he has one notable achievement to his name out of that game, because there weren't many. Yeah, I mean, so that puts us up. What?
17-0 at that point.
17-0. Yeah, because we had a field goal in the meantime. But the hits just keep on coming. I mean, Zach Bond gets an interception, get a short field, turn that into more points. Going into halftime, 24-0.
You couldn't have asked for a better first half.
You could not have, like I said, you could not script that any better. What were your emotions going into halftime? I mean, 24-0. Regular season, you're like, man, that's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
But how did you feel with it being that big of a stage?
With it being the Super Bowl and with it being the Chiefs, I was still nervous because the Eagles were up 10 points in the Super Bowl that they lost to the Chiefs at halftime. So, and the Chiefs were going to get the ball back.
Right.
So I knew that if they got a score and a 2-point conversion, then it's only a 2-possession game that they could conceivably get back into it.
And to that point, their defense had been playing decent football. They'd been forcing us to punt a few times. So it was not inconceivable going into halftime. They get the ball back, go down, score, 2 points, 24-8. Defensive stop, force us to punt it again, go down, score, maybe another 2-pointer. All of a sudden, it's 24-16. It's a completely different game.
Yeah.
So at halftime, I'm not easy. I'm like,
right.
I'm not. It's looking good, but
we've been burned.
I can't let those words escape my mouth.
We have been burned.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If I try to verbally say that out loud, it might come up with a vomit. I was like feeling still that like grip of tension and stress.
And look, we have history. The Patriots came back from a 25-point deficit.
Yeah.
and they made it through the middle of the third quarter with that. So you
Yeah.
can come back in a game, you know. So what? 15 plus 8. What? 23 game time minutes.
The Eagles did it in the regular season back with Miracle in the Meadowlands too.
Yeah.
You know what? I think we made up like 21 points in 7 minutes or something
Yep.
crazy like. So
It's possible.
I knew 24 points was not insurmountable. So, you know, starting off that second half, we immediately come out there. That was probably the Chiefs' one chance.
Yeah.
Looking back on it in
to
retrospect,
come back.
and forcing them to punt on that first drive after halftime, that glimmer just ignited. And something changed in me. I told you this before the show. There was like a bloodlust came over me.
That's actual audio from Mike.
You don't understand. I became a rabid, frothing lunatic.
Yep, you're screaming all over the place.
Every second that passed after that point, I just, the bloodlust got deeper and more vicious. Because it was like a shark that smells blood in the water. I knew at that point that it was starting to snowball.
Yeah.
But the moment for me where I think it reached its peak was what they're calling the Devontae dagger.
Oh, yeah.
For me,
That was a dagger. That was the end.
That was. And I'm getting chills just thinking about it because, like the Philly special in Super Bowl 52, I think people are going to look at that play and go, that was the tone setter. Because at that point, midway through the third, you're not airing the ball out. If you're up 27-0, no team is airing the ball out. They're handing it off. They're playing slow. They're playing smart. They're
Or
playing
screen
safe.
passes.
Screen passes, yeah. And
90% short pass.
the Eagles said, no.
Uh-uh.
We are going to drive this stake right into the heart of the beast. And they dialed a play action pass. And watching all 11 guys bite on that play action to Saquon, they were so overcommitted to stopping the run. They forgot there were 10 other guys out on the field.
Yep.
Like, it was the funniest thing in the world. They were like, oh, we got to stop Saquon. We got to stop Saquon. And just a beautiful strike, 40-some yards to Devontae Smith. At that point, I knew we were winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they got it.
Like that, right then and there, I jumped up and I said some things that I can't repeat on the podcast because, like I said, the bloodlust was at its peak. And at that moment, I was like, we just won the freaking Super Bowl.
Yeah. It is funny how you just remember those one or two plays that stick with you, and you're like, this is it. They got it. They got it.
So that was the play for me. I mean, did you have a similar?
Agree.
Yeah.
I agree. That
was a
Devonta
jugular
Smith
move.
it was beautiful, too.
That was a jugular move.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, like you said, most teams that go up 3 possessions.
Even in the regular season, 27-0, you're not airing the ball out.
Yeah.
And we're like, no. We're going to end it right here, right now.
If anything, you're doing like a dink and dunk, 90% completion. You know, that's like a 5-yard pass or something.
Yeah.
You know, because at that point, you're just trying to run the clock down.
If you need more evidence to what I'm saying, NFL Films just put out the mic'd up version of the game, which, Sirianni on the sideline was like, let's just win this thing.
Yeah.
And they dialed up. He's like, screw it, let's win it. And
Yep.
like with Doug Peterson, the Philly special, the balls on my
The cojones.
The cojones on my paisan over there. It's just like let's go win it. Like that tapped into a visceral part of my soul as an Eagles fan. You don't understand how many times, Rich, have we seen Eagles teams like, oh, we don't want to be too risky, but just it was like.
No, you're in the Super Bowl. This
Yeah,
is it.
You're in the Super Bowl.
This is the time to let everything out there on the field.
You don't want to turn into the Falcons in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
You don't want to turn into the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl. You don't want to turn into these teams that want to play it safe because they don't want to risk it because it's too big. If we play too risky, we might blow our shot. If you don't play risky, you're going to blow your shot.
Yeah. Playing it safe is also a risky move as well.
Yeah.
That always gets forgotten in the, when they teach strategy.
Right.
But yeah, the Devontae dagger, as you called it. Yeah, it was beautiful. That was
34-0.
There have been moments where I've been watching Eagles games that shoot me from my chair.
Yeah.
It just and it's just like instinctual. It just boom, it shoots you out of the chair.
Mm-hmm.
That was my moment during this Super Bowl. Obviously, the Philly special was one for the first Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But that was the one that shot me out of my chair.
It's very rare
Went vertical.
for guys like us, for both of our
Yeah.
feet to leave the ground.
Yeah.
At this stage in our life, for both our feet to leave the ground, it's always risky business. I, like you said, literally leapt. I was in the other room. I leapt into this room that we are currently in, and I started pounding my fists on this table that we're recording on, shouting, "That's who the F we are!" You know, like my bloodlust was at its peak. But seeing that score tick up to 34-0,
You really are the George Carlin football bit where he says you are capable of any time watching a football game, taking the life of another fellow human being.
At that moment, I was like, if Patrick
Preferably
Mahomes,
a stranger.
if Patrick Mahomes had somehow walked into this house, I would have full-on throttled him in that moment. I'm not going to lie.
Yes.
No, like that singular play just has been playing nonstop in my head for the whole
Don't forget about that. That's actual mic. There you go. In the kitchen. That was here.
It was right here. That's actual audio.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we go up 34-0. And I mean what? That's ball game.
Yeah, it really was at that
That's
point.
fourth quarter basically at that point, I think. I think it was like 2 minutes left when that happened.
And
in
I
the
mean,
third.
I know the Chiefs got 2 garbage time touchdowns, but this game was over.
This is what I'll say about those touchdowns. And is kind of, I think, puts it in perspective. So the last actual score of that game was 34-6.
Yes.
Because at that point, you notice that the next touchdown the Chiefs scored, if you pay attention to the defensive backs that were in, it's Sidney Brown and McCollum. If you find yourself playing against backups in the Super Bowl,
It's over.
you messed up.
It is over.
Something
The game is over.
went horrifically awry.
Kenny Pickett has played in a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Not Dak Prescott.
Like,
not Josh Allen.
yeah.
Not Lamar Jackson. Kenny Pickett played snaps in the Super Bowl.
Consider, guys, really think about this. You put in backups when you don't care about how the rest of the game is going to go because you're so confident that you've locked up a win. There is a singular game in all of sports that you do not want backups to appear in on either side, and it is the Super Bowl. So when the Chiefs found themselves playing backups throughout the fourth, they knew it had hit the fan, it had sprayed everywhere, and the cleanup crew's got to come in. It's over.
Yeah. And it was glorious.
It was amazing.
Yeah. What do you think about I actually do want to ask you this. Something that came up was there were a couple plays that upon rewatching them, Travis Kelce looked like he kind of just gave up on this team.
Yeah.
And now there's reports that he's thinking of retirement. Is this it? Is this the end of Kelce's in the NFL?
I don't know why people are so shocked. He was only 2 he's like 2 years younger than Jason Kelce. So, I mean, just do the math. I mean, Jason Kelce retired for this past season.
Yep.
Travis played one more season. He'll do the Jason route. He'll come back, give it one last go next year, and then after they don't make the Super Bowl, he'll hang it up. He looked completely checked out.
Yeah.
Even when he wasn't, he was completely ineffective. I
think it wasn't until like the third quarter until he got a pass.
Yeah, and I mean, he ultimately broke the record for most receptions in like playoff, like a player's playoff career.
Yeah.
Like he broke Jerry Rice's record as most catches in the playoffs. But he had Oren Burks covering him. And I'm not disparaging Oren Burks. He stepped in for Nakobe Dean. He did an awesome job. But you are Travis freaking Kelce, future Hall of Famer, 3-time Super Bowl winner. You have a backup linebacker covering you. And, I mean...
Couldn't get free.
Think of this. He is Patrick Mahomes' safety valve. He's supposed to be the guy that is catching the dump-off passes when Patrick Mahomes is under pressure. So why were they not targeting him?
I mean, they targeted him a couple times, but it never either the pass was wobbly or Travis just flat out dropped it.
Yeah, he was just the point I'm making. He was not on the top of his game. I don't think he has been for a minute now, and it really highlighted it. in the Super Bowl that I think he's at that point in the career where you got to either play some kind of like rotational, situational role, or you got to hang it up, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it was not a good night for the Chiefs in totalitarian, just in total. Like they were just all over the place. Patrick Mahomes had a bad game too.
6 sacks.
Yeah, the offensive line
Eagles,
bad game. Yeah, it was a Kansas City's Chiefs fans' worst nightmare and our best dreams coming true.
Oh man, it is. I said this during the game. I think I said it to you. It's the type of thing that I had daydreams about. Like leading up to the game, I was like, I'd be like sitting there, like trying to do work and like, like gazing off into the abyss and like, oh, what if we score a touchdown on offense and a touchdown on defense and a touchdown on special teams? And wouldn't it be wild if we somehow went into halftime, holding them to 0 points or like a single score? Like it is the stuff of fantasy come
that it went this
true.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's the stuff that you dream up, like the perfect Super Bowl, and then it actually happened. It's the most dominant Eagles team I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Bar none. Better than 2017, better than 2022, period.
In terms of, just sheer domination, this is going to go down as the best single game victory in Philadelphia sports history.
Yeah.
Every other Philadelphia championship had some sort of, tug and pull or some sort of adversity or anything like that. This game just came out from wire to wire, all Eagles.
Yeah.
Just about.
And I don't want people to get confused and think I'm like trashing the 2017 team. Legendary team. However,
but dominant.
Yes.
This is the most dominant win in Philly sports history.
Because in 2017, it was a Cinderella story. It was not supposed to happen. We caught the pumpkin at 11:59. Or the chair, whatever the chair.
It is, I don't know.
It was not supposed to go that way. This was different. That Super Bowl was relief. This was revenge. It was dominance. I've never seen a performance like that before in 20 plus odd years of watching the Eagles. Not a single one.
I mean, also in Super Bowl history, it's pretty.
The last one was like
heavy.
What was it? The Broncos.
I think
and
that's the Seattle
Seahawks?
and the Broncos. I think that's the last time we ever saw like a
super one-sided. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it was one-sided. I know the score 40-22. It looks like it wasn't, but the Chiefs put on 16 points in the fourth playing against our backups.
Yeah.
If we wanted to, we could have extended that lead. We probably could have gone up 47-6 if we played our starters and kept our foot on the pedal, but we eased off a little bit. They doused Sirianni with the Gatorade with 3 minutes left in the game.
Yeah,
that is ballsy. They're like 3 minutes. Like let's douse him. Let's do it.
Yeah, you usually wait at least until the 2-minute warning. Like,
jeez,
come on.
I know. Yeah, it was. I was like, man, these guys are brazen, and I loved it though. I loved it.
Yeah. It's like you said. It's the stuff of dreams. Like it went that well for this team. How does this impact the way you view Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts now? That they are now Super Bowl champions, and Jalen Hurts now Super Bowl MVP.
I have an answer for one.
He's got the jersey on.
For people not watching the video feed, I purchased a Jalen Hurts Super Bowl jersey.
Yeah. Mike went all in on spending. He's got the jersey, he's got the hat.
I spent an unfortunate amount on Super Bowl merch because I needed some outlet for the bloodlust. Rich,
the wallet.
You can delete the clip from your soundboard asking about, is he the guy?
Oh, really?
No, don't even play it. It's done. It's done.
I can't even play it now?
No, because I said it after 2022 that, I'm naming him the guy, and then we had 2023 that wasn't good. But I don't think there can't be any more doubt. You can play it for old time's sake.
Yeah, I got to at least play it. Because we don't have to use it just for Jalen Hurts. We can use it for anybody.
That's true. We can.
So this is the Breaking Bad clip that I liked to refer to during the Jalen Hurts troublesome times.
You are not the guy. You're not capable of being the guy. I had a guy, but now I don't. You are not the guy.
Well,
listen,
yeah, that has put the rest for Mr. Jalen Hurts.
People on this podcast know for the past 4 years, I've been a critic of Hurts. I've given him his flowers. I've also given him a lot of flack for sometimes questionable decisions in games. And I think that's always going to happen with quarterbacks. They're not going to play perfect games. Even Brady and Mahomes don't have perfect games. Far from it. And I know people are like, oh, what about Nick Foles? Calm down. He was a career backup that played a stellar, singular playoff series. Okay? But the past few seasons that Hurts has quarterbacked this team, 2022 playing at an MVP level, coming back in 2024 playing at an MVP level again, and in both Super Bowls outperforming Mahomes.
Yeah, in terms of stats, yeah.
In terms of stats and just everything that happened. I mean, in 2022, I'm not going to dig up history, but Hurts did lead that team to 35 points in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs.
Yeah, it was the defense that let them down.
It was the defense that let them down. This time, again, 3 total touchdowns. He threw the 1 interception. It happens.
It happens, yeah.
But I don't think you can rightfully compare Nick Foles and Jalen Hurts at this point. Jalen Hurts is now officially the best quarterback the Eagles have ever had in franchise history. I mean, Donovan McNabb never took him there. Nick Foles did it, but he played 1 playoff series. Jalen Hurts, through his first 4 years, is statistically better than McNabb, won a Super Bowl after playing the whole season, going 14-3, and got MVP. He also took them to a Super Bowl before this, where if we had scored 3 more points, he would have been MVP in that one as well. I mean, Rich, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I don't think that's an overreaction. No.
And I was one of the most critical people of Hurts.
Yeah.
I was super critical, but at some point you have to. I have to.
He is now the Super Bowl MVP. You don't just luck into that.
No.
And you don't luck into one of the highest winning percentages out of all the current starting quarterbacks in this league.
Yeah.
In the last 4 years, you just don't.
He's been outstanding. You can't deny it. I can't deny it anymore.
And it's the fact that he does both the passing and rushing as well.
There's only one quarterback in NFL history who has 10 or more passing touchdowns in the playoffs and 10 or more rushing touchdowns in the playoffs, and it's Jalen Hurts.
Wait. Can you say the stat again? It was
there's only one player
who has 10 or more
in NFL history to have both 10 or more passing touchdowns
and 10 or more
rushing touchdowns.
Got you.
He's the only player in NFL history to do that.
Wow.
We talk about dual threats, Lamar Jackson. Get out of here. Try winning a playoff game. I guess he's won like 1 or 2. But Josh Allen, same thing. Jalen Hurts is the only guy.
Well, they keep running into him in the AFC playoffs.
It wasn't hard. Honestly, can we move to the AFC? We'd go undefeated every. What are they doing? What are the Chiefs? What are the Bills and the Ravens? No, honestly, this is the part of the show that I get a little pissed at other teams. Screw the Ravens because Lamar is a fraud. Screw the Bills because they have had 4 shots at this. They couldn't figure it out. We almost beat them twice. Did it once. Screw the 49ers because I just don't like them.
I love you're just on a rampage now. The bloodlust has come back.
It has. It's come back.
Yeah. Watch out, everybody. Watch out, Ambler. He's going to go on a rage walk soon.
No, but it wasn't. I'm joking. Obviously, it was hard. It's not easy to win a Super Bowl, but doesn't it make you wonder though what those other teams are doing?
No, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to win in the playoffs. It is very difficult. And to see that kind of performance in the Super Bowl where the Eagles were at that one point, it just seemed like effortless that they were just scoring at will and just sacking Mahomes whenever they wanted to.
Yeah.
That's a testament to how well this roster was constructed. I say another thing you got to give props to is Howie. I mean, this is one of the deepest rosters we've ever seen on a NFL team.
Yeah. I mean, it really helps that, he knocked the past couple of drafts completely out of the park. In the past couple years, he gets A.J. Brown in a trade, Devontae Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, who ended up being a starter. Then both our first and second round picks this year become instant starters, almost Pro Bowlers. I don't know how Quinion Mitchell didn't win Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's like absurd.
Well,
even JLix Hunt, our third rounder, had a sack in the Super
Yes.
Bowl. Like, it was absolutely shocking the amount of draft picks that he hit recently.
this win has to hurt for a couple of teams because as much as we do like to say that the Eagles had the talent, like homegrown through the draft and everything, there were a lot of pieces on this team that were taken from other
You're
teams.
talking about the cast-offs?
Yes.
I love the cast-offs.
And
We'll take all your trash.
There needs to, some of these teams need to have a what did the Democrats or GOP call when they lost the election? What was it called? They had an internal name for losing the election.
I don't know.
And they had to review an autopsy. Some of these franchises need to have an autopsy on themselves.
Yeah.
Because obviously the big one is Saquon. How did the Giants not do anything with Saquon?
But also,
A.J. Brown, Tennessee Titans, just let him go.
timeout. Zach Bond
Bond
was a special teamer on the Saints. We're like, all right, well,
Let him go.
We'll take your castaway trash. All-pro middle linebacker, helps us win the game with the most athletic interception I've ever seen a linebacker make.
Yeah.
Just castaways. I mean, the Lions didn't want Darius Slay anymore.
Darius Slay, another one. Yeah.
I mean, just Mekhi Becton,
Yeah.
our starting guard. I mean, just time and time again, they're like, yeah, we don't want these guys. And we're like, okay.
And they come. Usually it's the opposite. Usually we get other people's
How-
trash and they do horrible.
How many years? I mean, I think Andy Reid is just terrible at drafting.
Probably.
Like he somehow found Mahomes and that was it, and Travis Kelce. But for so many years, we'd like go and get guys and they would just like suck so bad. And it was like bewildering why that kept happening to us. Now we've flipped the book. We've flipped the script.
Yeah.
So
it's
all
been
those
amazing.
teams that are cast-offs, we'll take them.
All of these teams that lost a player to the Eagles and they do better in Philadelphia, they need to have an internal autopsy on themselves.
Well, it literally makes me think about Jason Kelsey's Super Bowl speech, where he goes, nobody wanted these guys. There were doubts about everybody. It's the same thing again. Like, nobody wanted Zach Bond. Nobody wanted to pay Saquon. A.J. Brown will find somebody just as good in the draft. We don't need him. And Mekhi Becton, he's a bust. And we just collected all these guys, gave them a great big hug, and turned them into Pro Bowlers.
Yeah.
And Super Bowl champions.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Speaking of Saquon, another thing is, I know he didn't have the best game. It felt like the Chiefs put all their resources into stopping Saquon, which I did predict was going to happen.
Yeah.
But still, in the totality of this season, and ending it on a Super Bowl victory, 2,000 rush yards. Does this go down as the best rushing season in NFL history? I think there's a legitimate case for it.
I think there is a legitimate case for it.
This is an amazing run from start to finish.
He broke Terrell Davis's all-time record of all-time yards in regular season and playoffs combined. So right there, an incredible feat for a running back. And I know people are going to say he had extra games to do it in. Fine. However, how many third and fourth quarters did he just basically get in the car and go home because he had already run for 200 yards?
Yeah.
So
how many more yards do you want me to rush on?
Right.
Come on.
It could have been far more. And I know you said he didn't have an impact on the Super Bowl, but consider that.
I shouldn't have. He didn't have the numbers.
He didn't
have the hype.
He didn't have the stats. He didn't get in the end zone, which I feel bad he didn't find the end zone. But the fact that he made the other team so tunnel visioned.
Yeah.
The Devontae dagger doesn't happen without Saquon. The way we're able to free up Hurts to run for 70-some yards doesn't happen without Saquon. So even when superstars aren't putting up numbers, they're still impacting games. And that's the hardest thing for people to understand, something like casual football fans to understand about players who don't get the spotlight. Like, okay, Quinion Mitchell never gets his name called, right? On defense. That's exactly what you want for a cornerback.
Yeah.
You don't want him to exist on the stat sheet. That means they're not even looking at him. Jalen Carter. Oh, Jalen Carter didn't have any sacks. Yeah, that's because they were probably doubling him the entire night. So when you don't get your number called, you are still making an impact when you're the type of player like a Saquon Barkley. He still had a decent show. He put up 97 total yards rushing and receiving. He just
He had to earn every bit of that.
He had to earn every bit of it. He didn't get
7, 8 guys in the box constantly.
But that's what helped us put up 40 points.
Yep.
Because
that's what helped get a touchdown to AJ and Devonta, and
I was giddy. I think I texted you. I was like, "Oh, the Chiefs succeeded. They stopped the run."
Yeah, they did.
That. If stopping the run was the goal, then they did it, and I'm very happy for them. But stopping
they didn't stop the other receiving threats.
Yeah, stopping the run does not win a Super Bowl. Stopping the run just stops the run. They were so overcommitted. It was laughable. It was giddy. Like, I would watch Saquon run for 2 yards. I would laugh my ass off because, like, all 11 guys are flocking to him, and they're not paying attention to anybody else. And that's how we were able to drive the field, break Jalen Hurts free for runs, throw downfield to AJ and Devonta, and it just – they overcommitted. They sold out to stop it, and they lost because of it.
Yep. And just again, glorious and dominant performance, and it was beautiful. Just chef's kiss.
It was truly just a wonderful, amazing thing. And like I said, the first one was relief at having, gotten rid of the stench of 50 years plus of no championship, right?
Yep.
This one was like almost a coming out party, like a stamp on it. Like, you guys better put some respect on our name, Like, the first one, you can almost be like, oh, it was a miracle.
It was its own thing.
It was its own thing. But this was like, okay, that one win wasn't like all the other one-win Super Bowl teams that just get it.
This felt like a response from the 2022 Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was us saying, like, no, we're not going to be a one and done. We are going to be somebody you have to reckon with year after year.
Yep. I overheard you before we started the podcast. Do you think this might be the beginning of a, dare I say, Eagles dynasty?
It does depend on how you define a dynasty. Here's the numbers. In a 7-year span, only 2 teams have won multiple Super Bowls. The Chiefs and the Eagles. In a 7-year span, the Eagles have made it to 3 Super Bowls and won 2 of them. In 7 years, we've made it to 3 Super Bowls and put up 35-plus points in every single one of them. Those are good performance. That's not like winning a 13-3 Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, the Patriots and Rams Super Bowl.
Or giving up a 28-3 lead. So I get that sometimes when you look at dynasties, you want to see win, 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 right? You want to see like win, loss, win, loss. You want to see it like compacted into a short time. But when you talk about just like staying power and playoff prominence, you kind of have to start to consider the Eagles are in a sort of a mini dynasty here. 3 appearances in 7 years. That's almost 50%. That's just math, guys. like in 50% of the Super Bowls, it's been us there.
The Eagles are the NFC champions.
How else do you define dynasty than being there, a good portion of it?
Well, we've got Steven in the chat. Yep.
Yes, Steve.
Hey, Steve. How you doing? Yeah, he says dynasty.
I agree. A dynasty and dynasty killers.
They're doing both.
We do both.
Wow.
We're a dynasty of dynasty roles. Killers, yeah. No,
very busy work the Eagles are doing here.
Well, let's stay on this line of thinking. I think we can run it back.
Oh yeah, you want to forecast for next year? Yeah. So the only big issues the Eagles have,
team stays the same,
right? Especially on the offensive side of the ball. Everybody's locked up on the offense,
right? Nobody's going anywhere. Defense
might have a little bit of a problem.
So let's go over it. Darius Slay.
Yeah, he's getting
older. Getting up there. His salary cap is $14 million next year. Probably a cap casualty, but I think they knew that. That's why we drafted 2 Pro Bowl caliber defensive backs in back-to-back rounds this year.
Yep.
The writing's on the wall. The other big question, Zach Bond.
Yeah.
We don't invest in linebacker. I think we are almost required to do so now. You can't let an all-pro linebacker walk after 1 year. That's silly.
Going to depend.
No, we talk about teams on the cast-offs.
Yeah.
We don't want to fall into that category. That would be silly.
Well, it's going to depend on how much he wants because he could probably command a lot of money in unrestricted free agency.
He could rewrite the linebacker going rate.
I don't know if the Eagles are going to have enough to pay him in the salary cap.
The other big question, defensive line. I know you guys are like, well, that was great. What do you mean? Well, Josh Sweat and Milton Williams, both free agents.
Yep.
And some argue that Josh Sweat should have been MVP. 2.5 sacks, a couple of tackles for loss, constant pressure. You don't give MVP to defensive players. It just does not happen. So that's why. But
that's why
you keep one, but not both. You know? So there are some questions on defense. However, that's defensive line. I'm not too worried. We always seem to figure out a way to make it work. We have a solution in place for Darius Slay. Zach Bond for me is the big question mark.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he comes back. I hate to say it.
If Nakobe Dean comes back healthy, we have a decent core there. Like Oren Burks showed that he can step in and play. Nakobe Dean is a fantastic leader in that locker room and on that defense. If he comes back healthy, he'll solidify the position there. I think you got to try to find a way to keep Zach Bond, and that defense is going to be just as good next year.
Again, the other hole, though, offensive coordinator. We're losing another offensive coordinator. Kellen Moore is going to the New Orleans Saints to be their head coach. Another weird scenario where the Eagles win a Super Bowl and we lose our offense. Our offensive coordinator could have just stayed in the place where the Super Bowl was held. Just stay there. You don't even have to leave.
That was what was his name? The defensive coordinator after the loss in Arizona.
Yeah,
what was his name?
Gannon.
Yeah. What a punk. But no, this is how you do it. Kellen Moore was like, "Yeah, I'm going to take another job," but he drew up a great game plan.
Yeah,
it didn't detract him because he didn't do it in the shadows like Gannon did.
Yeah,
that punk.
But the problem's going to be now we need somebody to come in. And do you worry about this too? Like this is now what 4 offensive coordinators in 4 seasons for Hurts. It's a lot of turnover.
Hasn't stopped him.
I mean, you could have argued it did last 2023.
That's because they brought in his buddy to be OC.
Uh-huh.
If you get an actual coach, I don't like
not someone calling 18 screens.
Listen, let's be real. Part of the issue was Sirianni because he didn't fix that situation sooner. But a big portion of that problem was wasn't it Brian Johnson? He was just not ready.
Yeah.
He was not ready. He was not good. And he was buddy with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was like, I want to play this style of football. And he was like, oh, sure, go ahead, do whatever you want. You know, because they're buddies. You can't coach a buddy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a weird dynamic there.
Yeah. What am I gonna do? Yell at you like, Mike, come on! What are you doing over there?
Yeah. It'd be weird. You know, like Jalen Hurts probably didn't want to listen to him. Brian Johnson didn't want to say anything to Hurts.
Your intensities for crap, Mike. What are you doing?
Yeah. That's probably exactly what happened. So as long as they get a real coach, I think it'll be okay because we found the recipe. But interesting wrinkle. I think Shane Steichen is available.
He's available. Frank Reich is available. Doug Peterson's available.
I'm just saying.
There's a lot of former talent.
If there is a year to lose an offensive coordinator, it was this year. There is a wealth of options that have had success with the Eagles before.
Yeah, that's possible.
So it might end up being, I don't want to say it's going to be better because Kellen Moore did a fantastic job, but it might not be that big a dip in production as we're expecting. The bigger issue for me on offense is actually offensive line. Landon Dickerson said that his knee injury will require surgery in the offseason. That's always a little worrying.
Yeah.
He should be okay, but they don't know what it is yet. But for me, the thing that popped up in the back of my mind that I can't help but shake the feeling, Lane Johnson, 34, 12 seasons, 2 Super Bowl wins, multiple All-Pro, multiple Pro Bowl. There's nothing else for a player to do.
Win a third one.
So my question to you is, are you at all concerned that Lane Johnson, he's the last one from that group of 4 that were considered the lineman leaders, Graham, Cox, Kelsey, and Johnson. He's the last one.
He's still performing at a high level.
He is.
I mean, as long as he is, I don't see why not. If he wants, if he wants to come back too.
Don't get me wrong. Physically, he can play.
Yeah.
But after 12 years and 2 Super Bowl wins, I mean,
why not? Go for another one.
There were murmurs a year or 2 ago that he was like, "Yeah, I might not want to play much longer."
Nah, go for another one. Why not? Come on.
Okay, well,
hop on board.
How can you say no to that?
Yeah.
How can you say no
board.
to that?
Come on.
So yeah, I'm a little concerned. I feel like there's always the threat once you get past the 10-year mark that any year a player could be like, yeah, I'm done. But
all right, well, that's the future. That's the off season.
Yeah.
We've got plenty of episodes to worry about that. Future episodes of the Crispy Noodle podcast. So make sure you're subscribed, however you do it, on YouTube or Spotify. So of course we'll talk all about that in the future. I guess kind of to put a bow on this, I guess as a general Eagles fan, maybe I'll start off what I'm feeling here. This is just thoroughly unbelievable to me. Like, if you had told me, as someone, as a kid in the 2000s watching Donovan McNabb not being able to push through a championship conference game, that sooner or later the Eagles were going to win 2 Super Bowls in 7 years, I gladly would have taken anything. I would have given you my shirt off my back. I would have given you.
I would have thought you were lying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is unbelievable to me as a longstanding Eagles fan that this has happened. It's been glorious, both of the Super Bowl wins. And just these teams, they've got a way to hook us in, to make the city believe. I mean, literally, you know it. The whole 3 weeks, the whole past 3 weeks, have all been just go Birds, hey, go Birds, hey, go Birds, hey, go Birds. Like that's not hello. We don't say hello here. We say go Birds, hey, hey, over there, go Birds.
Yeah,
go Birds.
It is. I think we're one of the most passionate, one of the most loyal, one of the best fan bases. Obviously, I'm biased here, but I mean, what other city? It's a stereotype at this point, but what other city destroys itself, win or lose?
Yeah, we're gonna destroy the city either way.
I mean, but also, I want to take a moment to get real here. The amount of passion, the amount of stories that you see coming out of like post-win about people. The Eagles like brought the 102-year-old fan to the game, and like the players just the heartfelt, wholesome things. How the city, the fans, the players, everybody's so thankful and appreciative of one another, and like. I don't know. Maybe I don't see it because we're not part of those other fan bases, but I feel like there's something really special with the players and the team and the city, this whole region here. Like, it means something so deeply to everyone. I think I speak for both of us too. Like, we bleed green.
Yeah.
Like it is at times more than sports. Like it's serious to us.
It's a religion.
Yeah.
This is a religion to us. Yeah.
Yeah. Forget whatever other previous gods I may have prayed to. My only god now is Jeffrey Lurie. Yeah, I mean it's something special. It's something spectacular, and I think that's why we deserve it, because I think we really cherish it here. I heard in the mic'd up, one of the players, I think it was Chris Jones, said we got spoiled by winning too much. He literally said that on the sideline.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll ever see that from an Eagles team.
No, we've been through some horrible decades.
Did you see A.J. Brown's post on Instagram? He was like, I'm trying to feel what people tell me I should feel, but all I want to do is dominate. It's the chase that I care about. Like, the dudes just want to go out and just dominate and work and play. It's not like the accolades. Like, Jalen Hurts, like, barely.
Oh my gosh.
The dude is so driven.
Yeah, wait. Yeah. Oh, no. Just a side tangent.
Okay.
I know he's the Super Bowl MVP. I know he's got to do all this stuff and everything.
Can they just stop though?
Oh my God.
He doesn't want to do it.
He does not want to do any of this.
Did you see the Fallon bit?
You can clearly see he's uncomfortable. He doesn't like the He doesn't like being the only focal point.
Right.
I think it helped that he had Saquon in the offensive line in that bit.
Saquon refused to do that
Yeah.
if the offensive line wasn't there. And again, like that shows the chemistry of that team.
But like another weird thing, the Super Bowl MVP gets like kidnapped
To Disney World.
to Disney World immediately after the Super Bowl game. Jalen Hurts looked like frightened in the little parade that goes with him celebrating him being the Super Bowl MVP. He was so uncomfortable.
Did you
in that.
see the shot of him riding the roller coaster? I mean,
Yeah.
he
looked
does-
like me riding a roller coaster. I don't like it. No,
like,
thank
there's
you.
just- there's just like no emotion.
Yeah.
And like,
no, thank you.
but also reporters keep asking him about his phone background, about how he turned it to the picture of him walking through the Chiefs confetti.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Do you think you'll change it now?" And the coldest answer ever, so just incredible. He goes, "I don't see a reason to."
Oh.
Like, they are so like absurdly driven. Like, I wish I could be like a quarter as driven as that. they're like masochists. How passionate and driven they are, and that's why they deserve it. That's why we played the game that we played, because it meant that much to them.
They got the dog in them.
Yeah,
That's what they say.
Yeah.
That's what the people say.
That's what Zach Bond said. I love
Yeah.
that interview where the interviewer's just like naming defensive players, and Zach Bond goes, "Dog, dog, dog."
But seriously, next time this happens, can we not kidnap the Super Bowl MVP? Is there a way that we can break that with Disneyland or Disney World or whatever?
I don't understand. Like, what weird contract did they sign with the NFL? Like, they have to say it. They have to do it. It's so bizarre.
It's like a weird blood oath. They like literally kidnapped the MVP.
Yeah, I mean, I love Disney
Jalen
World, so
Hurts-
I wouldn't have a problem with that. But Jalen Hurts clearly did not.
Jalen
enjoy
Hurts
it.
probably hasn't gotten a full night's sleep
No.
since
No, because he
what,
was in
a
Disney.
week and a half.
He was in Disney World. Then he was on Fallon.
Yeah.
And I think it was like the same day. I was like, how did you get? Did you teleport? Like, I don't understand like how you did that.
Yeah. He probably has not gotten a full 8 hours of sleep in like 2 weeks.
No, not at all. No, he's been doing every talk show, Disney World, interview.
He was on The View. Like, what
He's on The View?
what is happening? Yeah. Like, come on.
Man, he's
Someone give that guy a break.
really.
I was going to be like, I don't want to be MVP.
Yeah, right.
He's going to hand it off to Saquon like 80 times now.
At the end of the game, he intentionally fumbles it like 3 drives in a row just so that his stats take a hit. He's like up 34-0. He's like, "Oh no, I fumbled.
Oh, no.
Don't
Oops.
give me the MVP."
Look, other team defense. It's right here. Oops. Oh, no.
Oh no. Yeah, he clearly does not want to do it.
Yeah. So, I don't know. The NFL needs to change that.
Yeah.
Poor MVPs.
Listen, the guy's a quote machine. He's so ridiculously driven and passionate, but he's not. He doesn't want to do the pomp and circumstance.
Yeah. That's not his thing.
No.
All right. So, is there any other things that we want to mention about the Super Bowl? We're coming up to the end of the hour here.
Yeah, I mean,
I know we wanted to. Yeah, this is a special episode of the Crispy Noodle
Yeah.
podcast. We're not doing anything else. Everything's devoted to this.
right. No other news that comes next week.
Yeah.
But for in terms of the Super Bowl, just yeah. I mean, like you said, if somebody had told me in the early 2000s that, that loss to the Patriots, that's not going to be the last time. That don't worry.
Oh my God.
You're going to
That's
have
another thing too. Yeah, it felt like when we lost that first Super Bowl to the Patriots, I was like, "Oh my God, we're never gonna win Super Bowl. We're never gonna get back here."
I remember that string of championship game losses. I remember like shedding actual tears.
Yeah.
And then we made it to the Super Bowl and they lost and just being devastated. I was like, never gonna win.
No,
I was like,
it's never gonna happen.
I was like, that was our one chance. We're never gonna see this ever again. And then making it to 3 Super Bowls in 7 years and winning 2 of them, it just feels unreal and it feels so freaking good.
Yeah. It's been
I'm ready to run it back.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
And I'll end. I think this is probably the note I think is a good way to end on. Just something that I think about with some of these championships is I always think about like my grandpop.
Mm-hmm.
I think about my dad. Like I think about the people that I watched, not just the Eagles, but like the Phillies, Flyers, Sixers. You think about kind of these eras, and you're just like, my grandpa didn't see the Eagles win the Super Bowl. My dad didn't see the Eagles win the Super Bowl, but I did.
Twice.
It's something that like puts everything into perspective. You're just like, I can't believe we are getting the chance to witness this.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that we do not take wins. We do not take championship wins for granted.
No.
They are a pretty penny here in Philadelphia.
Yes. No, 100%. And
we do not get fat and sassy on championship wins.
No, we stay hungry because we know the cost of it.
And it feels so emotional and so joyous to have this happen to the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's just been on cloud nine.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic.
It's been a wild ride. It's felt great, and can't wait to do it again.
All right. Well, hold on. Now you might be putting the cart before the horse here.
No. We stay humble in Philadelphia, and just enjoy it. Enjoy it for what it is.
Yep. But there you go, folks. That is the recap of the Eagles winning Super Bowl 59 here on the Crispy Noodle Podcast.
Another football season in the books.
It is, and it does kind of feel like the end of like a journey, the end of a TV season or something. This is crazy. This is the end.
That was the perfect season finale.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's been a pleasure to share the journey with you every week here on the Crispy Noodle Podcast. Week in, week out, we try and give you the very best in sports, entertainment, and odd news. That is our job here on the Crispy Noodle Podcast. And I always joke that this podcast is also like therapy, So it's part therapy, part news, and it's everything that...
And all fun.
And all fun and everything that we would like it to be in an hour-long or so podcast. So... I want to thank you guys for coming along for the ride, whether or not you listen to us on YouTube, on Spotify, or on any other devices, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, whatever you use to tune in. Thank you guys for joining us for the ride. The ride has come to an end, and it's the best ending that I think we could have hoped for. If you want to get in contact with us on any future episodes of the Crispy Noodle Podcast, make sure you contact us on X. I am at Rich Liebig, RichLiebig.
And I'm at Mikey Costanzo, MikeyCostanzo.
Yep, so make sure you send us a message on X if you want us to talk about something specific. We will get to regular portions of the Crispy Noodle Podcast next week with the Sports Sampler, the Entertainment Entree, and the non-Fortune Cookie Odd News. But this was just too good to, it had to be the whole show.
We had to give it its own space.
Yeah. And, we had to give some time to recover from Sunday as well. I could have died and I could have been happy. It was just one of those, moments we needed to let breathe for a little bit before we comment on it. But once again, thank you guys for joining us on the ride of this crazy and championship season of the Philadelphia Eagles. Mikey's got all of his equipment ready. Everything is happy. Everything's good here. That'll do it. Anything else, Mike?
Go Birds.
Go Birds. That'll do it. We'll see you guys next week. Later.
See you guys.
Later. Bye-bye, all you fine peoples. Good night.
Some of us have great stories, pretty stories.
Snap your
Take place at lakes with boats and friends and noodle salad. A lot of people, that's their story. Good times, noodle salad.